All right, y'all. We are back to the Refine Life podcast, episode number. Wow, that's a lot of episodes. And I'm Big Vinny, and over here got Jeff Suter. We're flying solo today.
Hey,
we had Butter in one episode, and Jared Blake couldn't be here because he's on the road to Wisconsin, La Crosse, Wisconsin. And you know where all of his family's going?
No idea.
Hawaii.
Oh.
But he was already booked on this show, and he said he just didn't want to cancel on him because he felt like it was the wrong thing to do. It was for a girl's graduation party. And her parents, like a year ago, booked this. And, I mean, he's getting paid pretty decent money, but now he's missing in the entire Hawaiian vacation with his entire family that his mother-in-law is taking him as a treat because their final son just graduated high school.
Oh,
so
man.
She's taking the whole family to Hawaii, and Jared's got to miss it. I mean, I'm not laughing at you, Jared. I'm laughing with I guess just be honest, you're crying about it.
So
But, you know,
how long he can't circle back around when he's done in Wisconsin?
No, because it's a cruise. And so they can't meet up. So they cruise to Hawaii and they get off on different islands and all that. And so they won't let you. You have to come on the port of entry, at the port of entry. And so they tried to figure that out, but it didn't work out. So, that happens sometimes. I think what I look at on that is, and it's going to bring me into this episode today, I want to talk about chasing goals versus catching goals.
Yeah.
I think so many times oh man, I'm chasing my dreams. I'm chasing them, but you just run around like a chicken with your head cut off. When you make a plan and you want to see things through, and this guy took a show that he was going to be guaranteed to make whatever it was, 10 grand, 15 grand, whatever he's getting paid for this show, to go play it, and he signed a contract. Now, could he back out? Would it hurt him lifelong? No, but it would be the wrong thing to do because that person's been looking forward to having him for all this time. Well, during the, like I said, a year ago, they booked this, and now it's time to, go do it, and he has an opportunity to go do something else. I think a lot of people would say, man, I don't want to miss vacation with my family. And I think he's made those choices before, but it wasn't something that he knows somebody put their money in. He knows that somebody's been looking forward to. He's their favorite artist. And I just think that's a hard decision to make, but I think he made the right one. You don't want to screw somebody else over just because another opportunity came along. And I always kind of say, dance with the one that brought you. And I think Jared's always been great about that. He's a loyal dude to a fault, and I'm the same way. I want somebody that I know is going to be in my corner that just because something bright and shiny and new comes along, they're not going to jump away from you. You want them to be married to a girl, to a girl like that. It's like, oh, this looks like it's a better idea for me. I'm going to have an easier life over here, so I'm going to leave you behind.
Don't work that way.
Yeah, don't.
Not supposed to anyways.
Yeah, well, I've been living in the music industry for a long time. I've seen it happen. But with that being said, I just think it's a realistic thing that happens. So often we have these ideas and these plans and all these things that we want to do, and they look fun. And then you get in the middle of doing the things you have to do in order to get to there. And that's where I think a lot of people fall off. Yeah, I want to be a star. But are you going to do the things that it takes to make you that star? I want to play in the NFL. Cool. Are you willing to do what it takes to play in the NFL? And so with us in life, I've chased a lot of dreams. I've caught a lot of them. I've failed miserably on some of them. And it's always been interesting to me because I found out that, when I have a plan, when I execute the plan, and when I keep showing up, being consistent and showing up. I think whenever, when you want to lose weight, you got to be consistent and show up. When you want to get your business to be successful, you got to be consistent and show up. And sometimes that means you have to sacrifice other things, other time with other people, vacations, leisure, some of that stuff has to be sacrificed. So with you, man, I've always been such a fan, ever since I met you, and it's only been a few years, but I watch you work so hard. I watch you put in not just the work that it takes to be successful today, because I think you did that for a while and you've openly admitted man, I just thought I was going to wake up and make money.
Yeah.
But you've understood that worked for a little while, but now the game has changed. And so now you're looking, how do I change with the game? We got to have more social media content. We need to have the podcast. We need to do these things. So I just kind of want to talk to you about what you do. I mean, I know we're in this together, but man, you're starting to really, Homebucks is about to blow up and is mowing down some lawns already, figuratively. So I just want to kind of, give me that thing that drives you and what's kind of your plans now with your business and where you're going and where you're taking it and how are you catching the dream as opposed to just chasing it?
So I think the main thing is, like you said, is having that plan. A lot of people, they want something, but they don't put on paper how they're going to go get it. I'll use myself as an example. I was telling you before we hit film that I'm ready to lose some weight.
Yeah.
And I told my personal trainer what's today, Friday. I told him yesterday that come June 3rd, I'm going to go 45 days all out and see what I can accomplish in them 45 days. And he asked me, what can I do to help?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I need an agenda. And he said, well, I give you an agenda. I said, no. I don't need to know on Monday I'm doing back and buy.
Yeah.
I need to know what back and buy work I'm doing. I don't want to have to go in and think about it. I just want to show up and do it. I want to take the brain out of it, show up, do what's laid out for me, and make it happen.
Well, I mean, that's what a personal trainer is supposed to be doing for you.
Yeah, I don't really pay him.
Oh, so you are buddies. Okay.
Yeah, we're buddies. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right, I was just getting that in my head. I'm like,
yeah. And same thing goes to business, right? Like a lot of people are in business and they're just waking up every day and just showing up.
Yeah.
And that's not what the true job is. It's not to show
Yeah.
up. So if you don't have a plan laid out step by step of what has to be done day after day after day after day, you're really just showing up.
Yeah.
So I think that's what separates those that are chasing dreams and those that are catching them is the plan.
Well, I think we're kind of pre-programmed from school to just show up.
Yeah.
Show up and do what you're told. That is a worker's mentality. But an entrepreneur, that don't work like that. You are the one that has to make the plan. You are the one that has to hire and fire and bring in the right teams and the right crews, like my buddy Jim Gray over here that's going to get me on all the playlists. But you have to do that. So it's a whole different mindset that it takes when you're not just showing up, but it's like you have to have enough responsibility, enough gumption, enough willpower, enough grit, grind, and gratitude to show up, have the plan, execute the plan, and understand that sometimes you can make the best made plan in the world and it still don't work.
Yeah.
And then how do you pivot from that? And how do you change whenever the whatever kind of business you're in, whenever that changes? Like if you're a roofer or if you're a welder or if you're a home builder or whatever it is, if you're in mortgages, the games change. The algorithms on your social media, the way you do your marketing changes every single year. It's knowing how to pivot when that time comes. I think people that become masters of the thing they do, it's not about having the most knowledge or being the best at what you do. It's about having the ability to pivot and to master those things that happen. If you could, to be a master of it, you got to be able to take the bad circumstances and quickly say, okay, well, bam, we got to switch here. Yeah. On a dime, as they say, you got to be able to turn on a dime. And I've watched you do that, and in my short time, like I said, we've become such great friends over the last couple of years. But I've watched you say, you know what was working a couple of years ago ain't working now.
Yeah.
The market's changed. The people, are scared to buy houses because they want to wait for a percentage to drop, which I keep trying to tell them it ain't going to drop. But
it's not. It's not.
I had a buddy the other day. He goes, you think I should buy now or wait? I'm like, if you can buy now, you need to buy now. I was like, that's just the way it is. I got friends down in Florida that, their property taxes are getting so high now that they can't even afford their payments are going through the roof because they can't afford to pay the property taxes.
Some people's property taxes are the equivalent of a mortgage here.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's
well,
wild.
Mine, even with the resort, even just in Tennessee, it's went up enough that, we went from having about $7,500 or so a month to like over 10,000.
Yeah.
Of course, that's with our entire payment and everything else. And of course, that don't count electric and water and all the utilities and all that stuff. But a $3,000 change is a big deal.
Heck yeah, it is.
You look at it on a yearly basis, $3,000 extra dollars. What does that add up to?
$36.
There's $36,000 a year that you got to pay. That just happened in a couple of months' time.
Put it in perspective. A nice home in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Property tax
1.5, 1 million,
500, 4,000.
What do you think a night when you consider it? My house is $500,000 house.
It's a nice home.
It's a nice home. I love my house.
Yeah.
Our property tax went up enough that I just got a letter from my mortgage broker saying, "Hey, because we've had it on auto pay ever since we got it, and with the increase of property taxes now, you're going to have to, you need to start paying an extra $216 a month or whatever it is." I'm like, dang. I was like, I can afford to pay that, thank God. But I'm also kind of like, I thought when I got my house price locked in, it was locked in. I didn't realize it was all of a sudden going to jump up by $200. My car payment's only $300. I live pretty cheap. It's always weird to me when I'm talking to my buddies, like, yeah, my car payment's only $1,000 a month. I'm like, Both my cars together are only like 740.
Both my car payments are mortgage payments.
Yeah. Well, that's what Nick was saying last time when he said, he goes, I had a $200,000 or $150,000. No, what was he saying? $200,000 house and a $300,000 car.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's tough. I mean, spending that kind of money on a car is always weird to me, because I'm like, you're going to be tired of it in 5 years, no matter what kind of car it is. You're going to like,
oh, it won't even take that long.
yeah, I want the newer version. That's why for me, it's like, I'm not that way.
Yeah.
I would have been just as, all I want is an air conditioner and a way to play my music. As long as it's safe for my kids and has those two things, I don't need anything else, But I got the Volvo that I got. It's 2016. It's got everything.
You love it.
I love it. I love this car.
Love it.
I do. And somebody hit the back end of it the other day, and it's getting fixed though.
We're getting way off subject here, but Mother's Day, about 6 months ago.
Have you been on a podcast with me yet? I'll bring us back around.
I know you will. I bought this car Black Friday of 2021. And since then, I have been dying to put aftermarket wheels on it. And I finally did roughly 4 or 5 months ago.
Now you're tired of them.
No, I love them.
No.
But Mother's Day, we're pulling up to the Standard for Mother's Day lunch. And you hear this, and you immediately knew what it was. It was me
hitting the curb,
curbing the damn wheel, parallel parking in front of the Standard. And the kids make the, oh gosh, what was that? And Autumn sits there, and I just got still. I'm in my feelings. I'm upset about it. I know it's done. What's done is done, and you can't rewind, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
Autumn, I mean, you could drive forward, but it's just going to scratch up the opposite way. Yeah.
And Autumn goes, I'm just glad it wasn't me. It's in that moment I'm like, you right.
Yeah.
you are right.
And you looked at her like you knew how to parallel park. My wife will literally look at me and she's like, we're going to have to parallel park. She'll switch places with me. Mm-hmm. And we'll switch places and I'll parallel park for us. But, which is weird now because we got the cameras. I mean, it's so much easier now.
It can be. It can be for sure.
Yeah. I guess you got to reverse your mind when you're looking forward instead of looking back.
So my problem is when you're pulling up to the Standard, you're not really having to parallel parking. You're really just pulling because you're coming same direction.
And they're going to go park you,
and you're parking right there on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So you're really just pulling up to the curb rather than parallel parking. Dude, I don't know what the hell I was doing. There's a first
you were thinking about that lamb chop you about to go in there and eat. Or that what is that thing hog leg? What's that thing you eating there?
Pork chop.
Pork chop. Yeah.
Fire.
Yeah. We tomahawk. That's what I was thinking when you had that tomahawk. That's what we had. Well, that being said, luckily you've been able to catch those dreams, and that's got you where you can go to the Standard in your Tesla, and get you take your family for that because it's expensive to eat there. But what is how do you keep your eye and how do you keep a handle on how the market's pivoting and how the marketing side of it's changing and all that other kind of stuff? Is it just literally just being trial and error every single day? I mean, obviously there's periods you go through where everything's going great, and then where you have to kind of restructure. So what does that entail in order for you to catch the next wave of what's going to be next?
Yeah, I think it goes back to your pivot that you were talking about a minute ago. Is a lot of people get into the habit of just getting comfortable, and they're not really paying attention to what's working and what's not working because they're comfortable. They know something's not working.
Makes sense.
But to pivot from that, they have to get uncomfortable. And something I learned over this past weekend that I'm going to employ for myself is only changing one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you change more than one, you don't know what's working. Yep. If you change two, you have to keep doing both because something's working and you don't know what.
Right.
So I haven't always been dialed in there. A lot of times I just throw everything and just
until something sticks.
Until something sticks. So I'm going to start just changing one thing at a time so I can figure out what is and what isn't working and just continue. But I think it's, if you go 6-7 months and something's not working, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
It's you've given it its due time. A lot of people might change something for 30 days and say this shit's not working.
Yeah.
Go back to what they were doing. Well, you didn't give it enough time.
Yeah.
So I think
I agree with that. 6-7 months, within 6 months, you're going to know hey, this ain't the right, we ain't steering this train the right direction,
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it's funny for me, like in the music industry, you have so many ups and downs and lulls where it's like, man, I don't know if we're going to have any shows, and then next thing you know, you're like, man, I got so many shows, I'm never at home, So you go through those seasons and stuff like that, and you're continuously trying to reinvent. You're not trying to reinvent yourself, because I think once you find out what your brand is and you stay on that brand, but you're trying to figure out how do you hit the algorithms, how do you get your music to be heard by people, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I probably put out the best song I've ever put out this past week, and the best ones hurt the most. And I think, obviously you've seen all the pictures and all the things. People are sending me their memories and their stories and all this kind of stuff. It's not like we're getting a megaton of streams on Spotify, but, people are using it for their sounds and their reels and their stuff like that, which is great.
Touching people. That's the whole goal, right?
Yeah, and really, it's been kind of cool. I didn't know how I wanted to handle this at first. At first, I was going to put out the challenge like, hey, take your picture and your story and tell me your favorite, why this picture is one of your favorites. And instead of doing that, I said, hey, send me the picture, send me the story, and I'll make the post and I'll make you a collaborator on it.
Yeah.
And I think that's been pretty cool. It's opened me up to a lot of people, and I'm doing the work for them. But all they have to do is accept the collaboration.
Yeah.
And that is opening me up to all of their people, their friends, their family, their followers. If some of them, like the girl this morning, Gracie Ray, she's an artist out of LA, out of Orange County, and she's starting to crush it, and she's good, and she battles some stuff. She has Tourette's, and, as an artist, when she sings, that it doesn't bother her at all. But when she's not singing, just having a conversation, it's hard for her because she has to fight back, not saying certain things. She has kind of a head twitch and things like that. And she's a beautiful girl. I mean, phenomenal singer, songwriter, and all this kind of stuff. But it was cool. Her story this morning was just about how she misses being a kid. She's like, here's a picture of me at Disneyland whenever I was a kid talking to Cinderella. And it was such a magical moment. She was like, I find myself now that she's 22 or 23. She's like, I really wish I could just be that innocent little kid again. She goes, I think I was always wishing to be older. And I was like, well, you've learned this a lot quicker than most of us did.
Yeah.
I said, I kept wishing, whenever I was 25, 30, I kept saying, well, when I just get to this level, when I just do that. And I think, saying you'll be happy when you have this can be the enemy of you chasing your dreams and catching your dreams. Because it's like you finally catch something, and instead of being happy and being able to celebrate that, you literally just say, well, it's not good enough. I got to have the next thing. I did that. I did that in my artist career. And so I do think, celebrate the little wins along the way. You want to know what that feels like, and that's what's going to give you power and drive to keep going. Because if you never do celebrate, you never be proud of yourself for the things you accomplish, well, then what's the point?
Yeah.
I think so many people get money confused with success.
And joy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to me, success, has always been, do I love what I'm doing? Am I making an impact? Have I helped people? And I think, regardless if you're helping them financially, if you're helping them smile more, because we talked about that with butter, the fact that you're actually putting something in, and you're putting in the time, and you're putting in the effort, to go after these things, and hopefully, they do have an impact on somebody, but that creates success to me. I think in the music industry, everybody's like, well, if I don't make it to the Garth Brooks or Toby Keith level, or the, some people, they think you got to be Taylor Swift to be successful. But I mean, I know so many people that have cover bands that go out and play, a couple shows a week, make a couple $1,000s a week, perfectly happy, and which couple $1,000s a week doing what you love is good money.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some of these folks, they're out there making 40, 50, $100,000 a night, and they're miserable.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are, like you said, chasing the ultimate dollar, and they don't know what their end game is. They don't know what their why is. They don't know what their purpose and their passion is. So when they do get what it is they thought, they like, if I get here, that's all I'm asking for, and then they get there and they're still not happy. Well, they don't know why they wanted to get there in the first place, other than the money or the fame. And that's not ever going to bring joy to your life, ever.
Yeah.
Because there's no purpose. There's no passion in that.
Yeah. And I think, for me, being a creative person, I've always been too much on the passionate side. Like, I'm like, no, I don't care if I make any money, Yeah. And I've had to learn over the last few years, and Jared and you have both been big in helping me remind me, like, hey, you're worth something, Y'all think I'm worth a lot, I think I'm worth a lot, but So many times I do stuff for free, and so many times I say, it's okay. I don't mind. I just want to help. And it is important to know your worth and understand that. And sometimes it's okay to say no, which we've talked about before. Because if you're chasing something, but you keep giving up the milk for free, why are they going to buy the cow?
Yeah.
So I've had to learn that over my years, in doing this and being new to the business side of things. I mean, I think I've always kind of had the business side of me in the music industry, but I understood like, hey, if I just go out there and outperform, if I just go out there and put in the work, everything great's going to happen. And that does happen for a while. But at some point you also have to realize, okay, what do I do with this money when I have it? Where do I invest? What's going to be the future of where I'm going? Obviously, I'm not going to be able to do the worm and the splits. Well, probably will be able to do it forever.
Yeah, for sure.
My ankles kind of messed me up for the last year, but I'm good to go now. But yeah, I mean, I'm out there chasing this thing still. And I think I've had this kind of coming to me over the last little bit is what is next? Mm-hmm. I've made my money going out there and playing music, and I've talked to you some about this, but I got 2 little kids at home, and every time I leave, even coming into this podcast, my daughter's crying, Daddy, don't go.
Yeah.
Daddy, I want you to stay. And it's hard to walk out that door now. When I walked out last week, we left and we went up to Kansas to do this charity thing we do every year. And we're gone for, 4, 5, 6 days. And, my kids are calling me and my little baby girl's on the FaceTime saying, Daddy, when are you coming home? Why are you gone so long? That changes everything for you.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
but now I will say though, fast forward a few years to where she understands who you are and what you're doing, and she can even come to a show and comprehend.
Absolutely, yeah.
How awesome would that be?
Yeah.
You've experienced me being able to bring my daughters in for a podcast. I mean, the joy that brings not only myself but them as your daughter as well. So I mean, I think, assuming you're still doing music when she gets.
Oh, I'm never going to not do music. Yeah. I'm just saying there's. In order to keep my music dream and my music goals alive, I'm starting to put in other things in place to make sure that I never have to stop doing that. Right. I'm never going to stop writing music. I'm never going to stop recording music. I'm never going to stop, being the person I am. That it's not something I can turn on or turn off. It's just who I am. And used to, I think, comparison is the thief of joy. I think in business in general, it's like, well, I'm doing good, but that guy over there is crushing it. And I think in music, you get pitted against each other like, oh, we're going to put you up on New Music Friday or the Pick 'em or Flick 'em, and you're going up against so-and-so, and you got to get enough votes and all that. So by nature, you're constantly being compared to other people. I was blessed, we could have talked about this with Butter, but I was blessed to have people around me that were a little bit older than me, because I would take it to heart where we would lose one of those Pick it or Flick it contests, Yeah. And I'm like, dang, I was like, why were they better than us? Why'd they like them better? And I didn't even realize all the stuff that goes behind it and the politics and the money and all that other stuff. I just assumed real people were actually voting, Yeah. And, but it literally, I think understanding that has helped me and kind of, when we go back to COVID, we put all our eggs in one basket. And me and Jared were about to knock that year out, buddy. I mean, I'm talking about we was going to make more money than we'd made in a long time. Yeah. And then COVID happened, and I was kind of sitting there like, oh, crap, what am I going to do? And, luckily I had the job. My wife had made me take a job with V-Shred that, unbeknownst to me, was going to be my job for the next 4 years, and a huge blessing. And we had those jobs for a while. I feel like God always puts something in place. I think at the end of the day, any dream you're chasing, any goal you're chasing, if your morals are in God and your foundation is in God, you're going to do great along the way. You're going to have ups and downs. I mean, you look at the book of Job, dude was living the dream. Yeah. He'd had it. He already caught it. Yeah. And, the devil come in and said, I'm going to take this and this and this. And then you're going to, and he didn't denounce God. And then he'd come back in again. It's like, yeah, but if I do it one more time. So he does it again. He didn't denounce God, you know. Yeah. It takes, we were talking about it, I think, on a couple episodes back, but it's easy to be faithful when stuff's going good.
Amen. Yeah.
So same thing with your business. When you were just waking up every day and just making money, like, well, I just woke up today, another $500,000 in business come in, whatever. What was it like when you started to realize, like, well, wait a second, hang on a second. Yeah. This ain't working like it was. What was that like?
Fearful, a lot of fear, it'll rob you of your joy. Like you said, it's easy to be faithful when things are really good, but how do you respond when they're not? And I think a lot of us respond with fear and lack of faith. And you said something a minute ago that is, you said if once you catch your dream, make that million or whatever it is, do you know what to do with it?
Yeah.
I did not, which resulted in fear and lack of faith because I didn't know what to do with it. And I shit it all away.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, do I have nice cars? Sure. Nice home? Sure. Nice shoes? Sure.
Ate a lot of good meals.
A lot of damn good meals.
Expensive steaks, baby.
Some tight ass cheeks along the way too when things weren't at their best, right? So I think it's super important for me moving forward and for everybody that's listening, if you are chasing a dream that involves money, if you're handed $1 million today, do you know what to do with it?
Yeah.
If the answer to that is no, then you're not ready for that million.
Yeah.
You got to know what you're going to do with it. This past weekend in Phoenix, I was with a group of about 30 male entrepreneurs, and there was a 23-year-old there who just sold his farm for $1.7 million cash. 23. Me, 23, handed 1.7. I probably wouldn't be alive today.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Like, there's no telling what I would have done, but I'm telling you, it have killed me.
Yeah.
He hasn't spent a penny of it.
Yeah.
He hasn't bought a car. He hasn't bought a new farm truck. He hasn't
put it right into a whole life insurance plan, and next thing you know, he's making 6 to 8% a month.
Yeah. His question over the weekend was, what do I do next? Which is an awesome, like, mad respect to his name's Hunter. So much respect to Hunter because, again, most people wouldn't have the ability to say, okay, I've hit this lick at 23. Doesn't matter how old you are, but at 23, it's super impressive to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to talk to the right people. I'm going to have the right people in my corner that can guide me on what's next.
Right.
You know, he's going to turn that 1.7 into no telling how many millions.
Yeah.
You know, and I wasn't there 2 years ago. I didn't know I didn't have anybody in my corner to say, Jeff, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. You know, if you think about it, if you take $700,000 and you say, I'm giving myself a salary of $100,000 a year for the next 7 years, and I'm going to let this $1 million make the money it can make, whether it be, you know, I mean, even if you just put it in a CD, you're going to make what, $60,000 a year?
Yeah.
Is it 60,000? Yeah. Yeah, if you make 6%. So if you put $1 million in just a CD, you're going to make $60,000 a year on that. So at the end of those 7 years, if you had $60,000 a year on top of your $1 million, you could make some good money. He
never has to work again, depending upon what he wants his lifestyle to be.
And now if he goes out and says, okay, I'm going to buy this car, I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to buy this. I mean, you can use 1.7 quick.
Yeah.
But hopefully what you would buy is things that, you know, can turn into more profit for you and all that kind of stuff. You know, like I said, I started my life insurance policy a couple years back because I started looking. I was like, okay, where can I put my money that can build and can make me the most money? And then the life insurance policy was never lower than 6%, but could go all the way up to like 18% or something crazy like that. Never got up to 18% that I know of. But we put in a couple $100 a month, and now you can borrow from that anytime. There's no penalties for borrowing from it. You can. Obviously, it's willable and transferable and everything to your kids, your wife, your whatever. And of course, it comes with an insurance policy. You know, if I was to die, it'd be another $100 and something thousand that would go to my wife. And then I have a regular life insurance policy that is like $500,000 or something like that if I was to die. Basically, I got to just make sure my wife doesn't off. But no, it's like knowing what to do is a huge deal. I think there's a lot of great business people out there, like business managers. And people that, money managers that can tell you, hey, this is where we're going. I mean, I got buddies that work the stock market on a daily basis, and they do great. They don't do crazy stuff. They get in there and they work up, $4 or $5 grand on a daily basis and make $300 to $500 a day, off of their $5,000,
Yeah.
And that's pretty good money. I mean, you break it down. I mean, most people don't make $300 to $500 a day, And so and I got one buddy, he says, I spend about 25 minutes each morning. I, do my little buys and my sells, and, I feel like, I watch trends, and he gets it. He goes, and that's what I do. And he'll make anywhere between $500 and $1,000 a day. Now, me, I would have no clue how to do it. It's going to take me a long time to get that learning curve in. He just naturally kind of looks at the numbers, and he sees the patterns and the trends and the algorithms or whatever you want to call it. And he makes it happen, He does have an option where you can give him your money and let him do it for you. But, obviously, he's not responsible for anything. And then he's going to take his fee. He's going to take his cut,
Whether he wins or loses.
Yeah, no matter what. So anyways, no, I think it's interesting. I just think as we're out there trying to build these things, I mean, my best thing I can give to people is put yourself in a business that you would love regardless of the level of success you get to. I think that I've done things in my life just to make money and was miserable, even though I made good money. And I think I've done things in my life that didn't make me that much money, but I enjoyed my time doing it. So at the end of the day, regardless of how much money I made, I still felt good about the day, Now that being said, life is a lot easier when you don't have to worry about money.
Yeah.
I think what most people are looking for, they think they're looking for this massive bank account. And if they realize hey, if you knew what to do with this money when you have it, your stress level would go down. If you knew not to jump into too expensive of a house in the beginning, not to buy the most expensive car, or not to spend the money on things that are going to depreciate in value very quickly, I think your life is going to be better because you're not going to have this stress on you of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I got to make, if I ain't making $25,000 a month, man, my whole life's just falling apart, Yeah. And I keep my bills low. I mean, and of course, I'm never afraid to talk about it. I mean, our monthly bill with groceries and everything else stays in that $6,500 to $7,500 range.
Which is great.
Yeah. And that's about as low as you can. I mean, if you're going to live in a city.
Yeah.
And the only way we could go lower is if we lived in Perry County or somewhere. Oh, the TV went off. Hey, TV. Oh, that's a beautiful screen there.
How do I look now?
You look good. You look like you're in the desert oasis.
Does it give you the warm and fuzzies?
I do. I feel warm. Oh, we could go to Netflix and chill. I'm just kidding. Unless you're into that, But anyways, no, it's one of those deals where, to me, you want to have a stress-free life. Mm-hmm. The less stress you have, the better you feel on a daily basis, the better you sleep at night, all that kind of stuff. And I've had, stress can come from so many different places. People put stress on themselves by either biting off more than they can chew, or the way that they're living their lifestyle at the time. We've all had friends that have, put themselves in predicaments where well, hope you don't get caught, buddy.
Yeah.
I think we've all had our own circumstances along our life. Crap, man, I put too much money on that. But then that's when you have to have faith and trust in God. Let's see how it plays out. Because once you make a decision, you have to make a decision and go towards it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, new entrepreneur. I'm a brand new entrepreneur. I'm coming into you who's had a successful business for several years now, and I see your lifestyle and see what you're doing. What's the first piece of advice you're going to give me?
So A is where you're at currently.
Yeah.
B needs to be what you value as success. I don't think a lot of people have even defined what success to them would be, which is a lot of what we've been talking about, right? It's not supposed to be $1 million in the bank account.
Yeah.
What is success truly to you? That is B.
Yeah.
Then we got to figure out how to get from A to B.
Right.
If you don't know what B is, nothing else really matters.
You're just hanging out in A.
You're chasing something and you don't know what it is. I had this conversation with my wife via text on my way back from Phoenix. I said, "What's your B? What's your end game?"
She's like, "Don't you call me a B?"
But I think it's important for if you're a married entrepreneur at A.
Great. Yeah.
Is she on board or is he on board?
Yeah.
And take it a step further. Are the kids on board?
Right.
It goes back to Jared now.
Yeah.
His family has to be on board, bro. They're headed to Hawaii.
Yeah, without him. I think they're okay with it.
They're on board.
We just went to Gatlinburg, and we just went to Gatlinburg a couple weeks ago. We're cool with you missing Hawaii. Yeah, they're like, well, we're sad you're not going to be there, but we're still going to go. But yeah, so I mean, they couldn't really reschedule the trip. But no, I think that's a great point. I think when you're young and you're brand new into business in general, your goals are going to change as you get a little older. Your B is going to change. Your reason why is going to change, especially after you have kids and a family. Because I know whenever I was first signing a record deal, I was 22. I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have, anybody that I had to be tied to. So I could just go and be gone for 60 days, 70 days at a time without coming home. Didn't matter. I had Butter on the road with me. I had Crystal on the road with me. We were out there living the dream and doing the thing. But fast forward now, if they gave me a record deal and said, hey, you got to go spend 60, 70 days on the road without coming home and your family can't come, I don't think I could say yes.
That's why what your version of success is, that's why it's so important.
That's
That's
a great point.
Exactly why it's so important. If you don't know that.
For me, my version, and I'm a pretty simple dude. You know, I don't care nothing about fancy. As you can see, I'm in my Walmart drip today. We're going to the beach, you know. I don't care about name brand clothes. I don't care about having the nicest car. I don't care about any kind of jewelry except for my little rubber ring here. I'm just one of those dudes. I'm a simple guy.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I mean, even our house that we have, it's the biggest house I ever lived in. You know, it's about 2,200 and something square feet. And actually, I think our last house was a little bigger, but it wasn't as new. This one was built in 2019. That was built in like 2002. I could be fine living in a trailer. And I know that sounds crazy, but me, I could be in a trailer long as the house feels comfortable and everybody's happy. I don't, you know. Now, would I rather be in a house when a storm's coming through? Yes. You know, but I've never been one of those people that's like, I feel like I got to have a nicer house. I feel like I got to have a better car. I feel like I got to have I've never been like that. Now, if that's your goal and that's your thing, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't try to sit there and be like, I'm higher and mightier. I don't feel like that. I just feel like those things don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Being able to give my kids a good life, and by that I don't mean giving them things. I mean giving them smiles, making sure I can spend time with them, making memories, which some of that costs money.
Yeah.
You know. But that's my version of success. Me is like, I kind of wake up every day and it's like, man, as long as I'm feeding my family, we ain't sitting there stressed about money every day, all day, all that, I feel successful. You know, I think other people, you know, definitely have it in their mind like, nah, bro, you're not getting it right. You got to get this car and you got to have, you know, 5 million in the bank. And I'm just not that guy, you know?
Yeah.
Now, would I be happy to have that? Sure. But that doesn't make me, I'm not any happier with 5 million in the bank than I would be if I had 500,000 in the bank and my family was doing well, or if I had 50,000 in the bank. As long as my family's doing well, we're happy, we're getting to spend time together, you know, and all that kind of stuff. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, my wife kind of asked me, she's like, you know, what's your dream vacation? You know, what's your dream vacation? I'm like, I don't really have a dream vacation. I guess anywhere that I'm with you, you know, if I'm with you and the kids and we're having a good time and people are satisfied and happy, I'm good, you know.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's something in my life that I'm like, man, I really got to go do that, you know.
I'm there with you.
Yeah.
Same.
I mean, I think experiences are great. You know, like I said, I got to play golf with Bo Jackson last year. Like that's, to me, is like, there's nothing I could go buy that's going to replace that.
Yeah.
You know, seeing my wife, you know, the pride she has that she's building her company, you know, and knowing we took a big hit. I mean, we took $180,000 a year hit for her to go and try to build this business.
Yeah.
And, you know, I won't get into all the details of that, but that was a hard pill to swallow, you know, because that was a big part of our livelihood is what her job was. And my job, you know, with V-Shred at the time, that was a big pill to swallow, you know, to take that kind of hit and change everything. But I also look at it, she's so much happier now. She's so much healthier now. She's finally, you know, after figuring out what was wrong with her and getting her implants, you know, taken out and everything, she's finally starting to get back to the body shape that she wants. I think she looks good no matter what, but in her mind, it's to me, that's happiness, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so what is your B? What is your, what are you going for?
You know, I really enjoy bringing the people around me value. So I think my success is being able to live from A to B, constantly growing and leading by example for my children first and foremost, because I want them to do bigger and better things. I don't want them to struggle through the things I've struggled through.
Yeah.
So I think constantly just leading by example for them and getting to a place to where I have financial freedom to do as I see fit, to help those I want to help, to be in whatever city I want to be in. You know, I just want to be able to
get the plane ticket whenever you need to.
Get the plane ticket and go. And that could be going to help somebody within their business. It could be a speaking engagement. It could be propping my feet up on the beach somewhere.
Yeah.
But just to be able to say today, this is what we're going to do with our lives
That's great.
The freedom I'm looking for.
What would you say is your biggest disruptor? What's the thing, like maybe it's a guilty pleasure, or maybe it's what gets in your way on a monthly basis or a weekly basis or even daily basis that you feel like, man, that distracts me, that pulls me away from what I'm trying to do? And how do you eliminate that if you can pinpoint the problem?
This is going to sound like a super simple answer, but it's probably the truth. It's the devil. It's not being in the Bible every day or in prayer every day. And because when I don't do them things, I have lack of motivation.
Yeah.
You know, we are our own biggest enemy.
Right.
And a lot of times I lose the battle with myself, whether it's just getting out of bed on time or going to the gym that morning. I know my day is not as good if I don't go to the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
But sometimes the devil wins and convinces me I need that sleep.
He loves you that much, Jim. No, I think that's a great answer. It's not just a simple answer. I mean, there's nothing simple about that answer. I mean, I know whenever I'm reading my Bible, whenever I'm spending time, oddly enough, a lot of times where I read the Bible the most is when I'm sitting on a recumbent bike getting my cardio in after I've lifted weights. And always when I was like, I don't know what people think I'm doing over here. I'm over here scrolling, and a lot of times I'll get, something to come to me on a TikTok or a Facebook or an Instagram, and it'll have a Bible verse. I'm like, well, I'm going to go check out that. There's a reason that Bible verse popped up in front of me. Yeah. I'll go read it and kind of check, And the thing about Bible verses is, man, so many times, they send that one little Bible verse, but then when you get the context of the rest of it, you're like, oh, that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
So that one little thing seems like a great quote, but then you need to put the context of what it was being used for. Mm-hmm. And there was one that always got me that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, then all these things will be added unto you. Well, when I've always just said that. You're like, oh yeah, you got to seek first the kingdom of God, and then you're going to have all the things that God doesn't want you to know on earth. I always took it as all these things will be added unto you, meaning all your questions, like what is God, where did God come from, the things that people ask. But you go read it, and you read that scripture, they were talking about clothing and jewelry and nice things. And all before that, they were talking about, it's like, yeah, all that stuff's great, and you can get it, but remember to seek God first, and then all these things are going to be added to you anyways.
Yeah.
And I think when you get that context, it's so important to teach people that, because I think there's people out there that think that preachers, and there are preachers that just go out and make money. I'm not saying that's not real.
Yeah.
But there are also preachers out there that have money, that really do preach the word every single day, that get in their Bible, that study, that live a great life, that try to encourage others, that do great things. And I think people think they're supposed to be broke. I'm like, that's not what the Bible says. I mean, Jesus had a treasurer, we've talked about that before. Yeah. But, I never understood. I mean, I thought I had a knowledge of what that scripture meant. And it wasn't until literally just a few weeks ago in church when I sat down and we were going over that. I'm like, oh, this whole time it's been talking about having the jewelry and having, of course, their idea of riches were different back then than ours are. I'm like, I don't care nothing about having a mule skin, but but anyways, it's just interesting, man, to that you say that. I think that's not a simple answer at all. I think that's great,
Well, the crazy thing is when I make it to the gym, that habit is good for me, because like you do it on the bike, I do it in the sauna.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of times I'm in there 20 minutes, and them 20 minutes are spent in my Bible app on my phone.
Yeah.
But that gets back to getting out of the bed and getting to the gym.
Dude, I sweat so much in there. I can't. I mean, I couldn't do nothing in there. The second I step into the sauna, I mean, I'm talking about it's just. I mean, I couldn't even operate my phone. It'd just be sweating, just pouring off of me. Of course, it's like 135 degrees.
But see, that's why I love it, because that's my quiet time. That's my downtime. That's my time with the Lord. I have prayer and
I love it.
My Bible app. But if I don't get to the gym with ample time for the sauna, right? If I get to the gym late, there's a choice to be made.
Where do you go to the gym at?
Avalon.
Avalon. Is that close to us?
It's the old Mac. On Old Fort, where it turns into Memorial.
I mean, I go to the Golds, and it's one of the downfalls I think of that gym there. I love Golds. It's been a great gym, but they don't have any kind of sauna room. They don't have any kind of hot tub or any kind of recovery methods there. It's just all lift weights and do cardio and get the hell out.
I think you'd like Avalon. They've got an abundance
of recovery
of weights and free weights or machines.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, place is massive.
Yeah. Well, I used to go to Nashville Athletic Center.
Okay, yeah.
Back in the day.
It's even bigger.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. For me, I think my biggest disruptor is going too many directions, and the nature of the music industry is like everybody's trying to say, oh, you need to do this trend. Oh, you need to go over here and do this. Oh, you need to put this out. You need to do that. And so you get so many people's different opinions and all this other stuff. I've been able to quiet that noise a little bit more here lately and just kind of focus on what I want to put out and what I want to do. And what I've realized is, when you're doing social media, regardless if it's for your business or for your personal growth of your own brand of if you're an artist or whatever it is, you really got to make it about them, and it's, I've heard people say that my whole life, it's like, when you're trying to sell something, you got to make it about them. How are you solving their problem? How are you helping this person that's watching your, the person that's listening to your music? Are they listening to it because they feel like the song is about them? I think Stefani, when she was on the podcast, she talked about, when you're following up with these people, are we making sure that the stuff that's getting sent to them is solving their problem? Yeah. And, but for me, it's going too many different directions and all this other stuff. And I love having different things to do. Like, I got 1 minute I'm doing the stuff with the resort and I'm making social media for that. And the next minute I'm over here working on the Bigg Vinny brand. Then I'm writing a song, and then I'm over here working on my wife's business and introducing her to somebody. Then I'm going to a speaking engagement. And I love that. It doesn't bother me. Like, I enjoy that, but I do think it keeps you doing okay at every little thing. Yeah. But it doesn't let you excel to a level of making a large amount of money necessarily in any of the one things. Yeah. And so this year I'm trying to figure out which one of my talents or my gifts or whatever that I've, been given or developed over the years is what's going to be best well spent to say, this is the focus. All these other things are great, and not that I'm ever going to give up doing them, but your focus has to be here. Yeah. I've got some great opportunities because of my ability to connect with people. I've gotten some great opportunities that are coming at me too, like with your buddy, the roofer. Mm-hmm. I know they've been in talks, and of course I got Richard Coletti coming to my resort next week, which would be the week after this. So last week when this one comes out, and he's coming out there to kind of, make a splash. And he's got about 30 or 40 people, entrepreneurs that have paid to come out here to the property and come learn about scaling their businesses and not just roofing companies, but all kinds of different stuff. And so because of my amount of connections to people and all that, it's given me some opportunities to do some things. And I've kind of really started thinking, well, maybe my thing is that I'm just a really great connector. That I was like, hey, I can put a couple people together, and then, I make a small amount of money or a piece of percentage or whatever from doing that. And I think that when you meet great entrepreneurs, they're okay with that. It's like, yeah, if you bring me in, $100,000 client, then sure, I have no problem making sure you get a piece of that. And if they continue to do business with me forever, always getting that. And if you get enough of those, 10, 20, 30 of those coming in, and the next thing you know, you got, 10,000 coming in here and 5,000 coming in here and 100, two or three. I mean, even if it's 200 or 300, $500, that start adding up, especially when they're residual and they create something that's going to keep going for a long time. So
I think you're going to find, I've been doing what you're hosting at your resort next weekend.
That you ain't coming to.
I'll be out of town. But firsthand, I live that. Like, I love attending them things. Yeah. Like it's that's connecting within itself. You're gonna
absolutely. And it keeps you motivated.
You have 40 entrepreneurs in one room. That's a lot of connections. Yeah. That can last a lifetime. Yeah.
When it gives you the opportunity, I mean, they're all working on their own business plans and say, hey, I'm looking for some investors in this. Maybe they're just flipping a house. I'm like, hey, we need 2 or 3 guys that want to jump in, throw 20 grand a piece at this. Yeah. And you get that opportunity. Next thing you know, that your 20 grand got turned into 50 or 60 grand,
I could see you doing this one and wanting to do more, even bigger.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, me and my wife are already working now on putting together one on health and fitness and, bringing people out, teaching them how to meal plan, teaching them how to prep, teaching them about, resistance training versus cardio and what the benefits of each one and, how to determine what do you need more of. And, obviously, a good balance of both is always a good thing, but kind of knowing, you can hurt yourself by doing too much cardio before you lift weights, Yeah. There's nothing wrong with, fasted training in the morning, but you have to realize that you still have to get those calories in. You still have to get those grams of protein in. So we want to teach people that, and, we want to bring in other experts. I think Nick would be a great guy to bring in for that. We want to bring in other experts to let them know. So many times your friends and your people that believe in you, they're not going to do what you say until they hear it from somebody else.
Yeah.
It's just it's just a very interesting thing.
Even
like my wife's mom calls me the other day, you know what I just found out? And she told her something that my wife's been telling her for like 10 years. My mom was like, your daughter is a pro card, or she qualified for a pro card bodybuilder, almost 30-year personal trainer. She has certificates from NASM, ISSA, NFPT, ACE, and she's a level 1, almost a level 2 now, certified integrative health practitioner. And she's give you this information that you literally called her to tell her, but because you heard it on the internet from somebody else you don't know, then you're like, oh, did you know this?
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah. The other day, I can't remember what it was. It was a couple months ago, but my mother-in-law sends her something like, oh, I just want you to know about this. And my wife goes back to screenshots like 3 months ago and pulls up the text and sends it back to her like, yeah, remember when I told you about this 3-4 months ago? And it's just interesting, yeah, it's interesting
it's
stuff.
It's wild.
So yeah, I feel like, you're always going to find your way. And I think hard work is a great thing. Mm-hmm. If you're a hard worker, that's great. But there are people like me, and I think you have done it before, Jared's done it before. I think anybody that becomes a great entrepreneur started off as a hard worker that had no clue what they were doing. Absolutely. They just like, if I go out and outwork everybody, it's going to be great. But what I've learned is there's a difference between a hard worker and a smart worker. Mm-hmm. Now every smart worker starts off as a hard worker. Then they learn all the things they need to do in order to not have to be the one that's out there digging the ditch.
Yeah.
How do you get somebody out there digging the ditch and you're making money paying them, but you're also making money off of them digging the ditch?
Yeah.
And so I've dug enough ditches, I'm ready to supervise, as you would say. But anyways, no, I think it's cool, man. So chasing dreams, catching dreams. We've tried to give you a little bit of both here. I think Jeff has got great insight because he's chased and he's caught and he's lost and he's caught again. I think I've done the same thing, and I'm refiguring it out now. And really, my focus right now is obviously figuring out how to really lean into my connecting, really lean into my motivation side of things, where I feel like I excel. I feel like when I do my social media, I feel like the best thing is, I give out these little motivational things, and I try to tell people, I was like, I'm just telling you what I'm telling myself that morning. I'm literally just talking to you like, man, and because I feel like if I'm having these thoughts, if I'm having the doubts of like, man, do I really want to go do this workout this morning? Man, do I really want to, do I need, can I not have just a little bit of this, excuse me, if I'm having those thoughts, then other people are. So that's what kind of drove me to like, feel like God's saying, hey, if I lay this on your heart this morning, go share that with people.
So I'm just going to give you where my mind goes off everything you just said, and you can take it for what it is.
The gospel.
You're an entertainer, whether that's speaking on stage or singing on stage.
Mm-hmm.
They're both entertainment. You're great at both. Then you're a connector. At the events that you're putting on, you're connecting where you can also entertain. Mm-hmm. So there's a way for you to bring it all home.
Yeah.
Just in my opinion.
I agree.
And it's through these events. Because you can entertain at the events yourself. You're a speaker.
Yeah. I love speaking.
Yeah. So on a bigger scale, you don't just need Coletti. You need Coletti, Vinny, and Nick.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So that you can entertain as well.
Right.
One of the last big events, goes back to when we first started hanging out. I was trying to put together a 200-300 person event for a group of realtors that was also going to include a lot of 3 or 4 speakers, and then you and Jared playing music.
Yeah.
So just start wrapping your head around events. You get to entertain too. Yeah,
well, absolutely. Well, at this event we're doing with Richard, I'm on Saturday night. I have my full band coming out to play on our little fold-out stage and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to speak some. My wife's going to come and lead the workouts and all that kind of stuff in the morning. So, I really liked Richard's idea on this because he's like, I want to give them value in the business. I want people to come and learn, but I also want them to have fun, So we're going to go float the river, on Sunday morning. We're going to get up and we're going to go jump in the tubes and go float down the river, and do that kind of stuff. God willing, we won't have any more rain.
Preach.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, when you have a business like mine with this campground, It's Memorial Day weekend. It's supposed to be the busiest weekend we have. Well, today, all day rain, lightning. But it's supposed to be done by 6 a.m. tomorrow. And the river, we haven't had enough rain to make the river get too bad out of shape so that we can't put people in the river. Because we won't put people out if it's dangerous. I don't care what the bottom line says. At the end of the day, if I don't want to put somebody out there if there's a chance that they're going to get hurt, you know. Yeah. And, I mean, there's always a chance when you're floating, when you're swimming, when you're doing stuff, you know, some people get drunk out there and do stupid stuff. We've been blessed to not have any major injuries or any kind of stuff happen in the 3 years that we've been there. But, you know, it's a matter of time. You know, when you're dealing with water and people drinking, it's a matter of time before somebody gets hurt. You know, our hopes is, you know, that nobody gets hurt in the severity where they incapacitated or dead, you know, any of that kind of stuff. But you know, rain can ruin a weekend for us. Heck yeah, you know, you have bad weather that comes through, like we talked about the tornado coming through and, you know, 150 trees down. Well, somebody's got to clean those trees up. Yeah. And somebody's got to pay for that. And you're talking about skid steers, you're talking about backhoes, you're talking about bulldozers. I don't know if you've ever booked those things to go on your land. And then the operator itself is like $75 an hour. You know what I mean? And so, you know, we're looking at, when it's all said and done, you know, anywhere between $70,000 and $100,000 worth of cleanup that insurance says, we don't cover that. We don't cover trees taken down by wind. And they don't even offer a coverage for it. The only thing it would cover is if one of the trees blew over and hit our building, that would cover that. But it doesn't cover the actual tree and the cleanup of the tree. So I'm like,
that's wild to me, because I like, if a tree did fall and let's say hit your home or fence or whatever, they don't just pay for the fence; they pay for the tree removal.
Yep. But if that tree fell in your front yard and didn't damage anything, that's on you. Figure it out, clean it up yourself. You know, but most people don't have 150 trees that can get knocked down. Yeah. 150 trees to clean up is no joke. Yeah. Now, we're blessed because, you know, Moon has a construction company. So we were able to use some of those, but he had to take his guys off of another job in order to come do that, you know. And, you know, the hopes were for Moon, you know, that they would, you know, the insurance would pay for the cleanup. But then when we got there, they were like, they come down there like, no, we don't pay for that. We don't even carry insurance. We don't even have an option for that. Now, if somebody would have been camping under those trees, which luckily, because our girl that was working the front office, Nikki, she was smart enough to say, hey, we got a bad storm coming in tonight. She's like, and there was people down there camping. She went down there and said, y'all, why don't y'all come up here and stay in the cabins tonight? And she let them stay there for the price of camping, which is less than the cleaning fee of the cabin. Yeah. But she did that. She saved their life. They would have died. They were right there. They were literally right up under those trees that fell. They'd have been laying in their tent with the storm raining down on them, and they would have got smushed and crushed by those trees. And so, but, you know, a life's worth more than $155 to rent a cabin, you know. And they didn't have the money to rent those cabins. They were camping because that's what they had the money to do. Yeah. And they loved camping, you know. But, you know, she put them in there, and it saved their life. And I look at that and I say, no matter what happens, you know, because this has hurt us. I mean, this has hurt our business, and, you know, it will, you know, the effects are going to be felt, you know. But we know that 2 or 3, 4, whatever it was, 4 or 5 people are alive because our one lady that was working in the office had enough wherewithal to say, you know what? I know y'all got to stay somewhere, and I know y'all ain't got the money for it. Our cabins are empty tonight anyways. Come up here and stay in the cabin and don't get crushed by a tree. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, that's God. You know,
that's who you want to run in your front desk too.
Oh yeah, Nikki's great, man. Yeah. She's a hard worker, and she's very sweet and kind to people. And, you know, we're in the hospitality business. That's right. Everybody, you know, I think people that when they own property and they own the stuff, a lot of times they don't realize, like, it's all about the customer experience. If they have a great experience and that your guests feel good, they make it. I mean, they come back every year, you know. And we've done that. I mean, we don't spend a whole lot of money on advertising, you know. We really stay pretty much maxed out on our floating every single weekend at least through the summer, because, you know, everything gets rented out. All of our tubes, all of our kayaks, all of our rafts, our canoes, all that stuff gets rented out. And it's people go like, I've been coming here for the last 5 years, you know. We come at least twice a year, you know, and we try to give a good experience. Now, there's days we fail. You know, there's days when, you know, poor old Carol's down there working, and, you know, you're depending on, you know, part-time workers. We're only open for, you know, a 4 or 5 month season, really. And basically, you know, the workers, sometimes if they're like, you know what, I don't want this job anymore, they just don't show up. They don't call, you know, and we try to pay as good as we can. In Perry County, $15 an hour is a good job, really good job. Yeah. I think the average hourly rate down there is like $11.50. So we're paying, was it $4 and $4 above, $3.50, whatever it is above what the normal rate is. So anyway, I'm glad that she did what she did. And like I said, she was worried about us being upset. She's like, I know that it wasn't really enough for the cleaning fee. I'm like, listen, the cleaning fee of $60 per cabin is minimal compared to what we would have felt if five people would have died.
Yeah.
I said, and they're still alive, I said, plus with the amount of money that we're going to have to pay out to clean up those trees, that, $200 or whatever.
Matter so much.
Hey, $120. That $120 ain't going to matter. So anyways, but it's interesting, man. When you're in business, you don't always have control. You can have control of a lot of things, but like that, we did have control of that. There wasn't no way for us to have anything different in place. We had all the insurances that we can have. We had everything you could have in place. If we didn't have Moon and we didn't have his equipment, I mean, we're still going to lose a lot of money on it, but it could have been over $100,000.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that. So still have to pay for, the backhoe, still have to pay for all the, fuel and stuff to do that. Still have to pay the operators. But there was several, bulldozer we already had out there.
Yeah.
The skid steer, we already had out, we had some of that stuff already. So anyway, well, I feel like we've come to a pretty good closing spot on this. I feel like we've given some people some great information. We miss you, Jared, but you've made a habit of not coming to our podcast sometimes, even though you're the third seat. And I was going to say that you're that I was the third seat and you're the second seat because Jeff is always going to be the first seat. But now you're officially moved to the third seat, Jared Blake. And with that being said, you're almost as maybe it's because he's more successful than us that he ain't here today. Dang it.
That might be it.
Dang it. It's backfiring on me. Anyways, y'all, we hope that you have learned a little bit more about how to not just chase your dreams, but catch your dreams. After you catch your dreams, how do you keep the dream? And while you're keeping the dream, are you also doing the right thing with your family? As our buddy Nick Alfano has said, it should be faith, family, fitness, and then finance. So we're trying to put that in our life and make sure that we do that as well, and make sure that our faith and our families are always coming first, and that we don't sacrifice the experiences, the love, and the dedication to those people, and also to ourselves with our fitness before we worry about how much money we're putting in the bank. So, Amen. Jesus, I love you. Y'all, if you're out there, just go ahead and like, subscribe, give us 5 stars, give us, more if you can. Share it with a friend. Write us a review and just say, just on the review, just say, Big Vinny's the sexiest man alive.com.
And Jeff has great hair.
And Jeff has Tom Brady hair. So there you go. Bam. All right. We'll see you next time on Down the Road.
Hey.